Good morning, gang. 99.1 WDJY. Gotta take that off a minute. There we go. 99.1 WDJY. We're going with a side view camera today. Got the long hair showing. Pink Floyd t-shirt on. There you go. Little dark side. And it's Tuesday. We're going to do a toast today. I think the recipient of today's toast would appreciate today's mug. For those of you seeing it on video, can't say it on the radio. So effing zen. All right, so I'm still sick. I'm waiting for some money that I'm getting this week. I don't know which one I'm going to get first. I'm waiting for some money that I'm going to get this week and get some things paid. Get to a doctor. Get my breath back. It is 11:03 Eastern. I think it's 4:03 in London. Yeah, we're in London. Where's it at? There we go. Clock. I'd apologize. I'm a little bit behind today. As I think most of you know, I'm a grandfather. And my son has not realized the necessity of becoming an adult. He's had his fun. You know, he had a year between graduating from high school and heading off to college, which he does next week for the first time. And we got the bright idea to get a dog, which I love. She's a sweetheart. 100%. But doesn't necessarily need a chick magnet when he's got a beautiful, lovely girlfriend. I'm looking for something, sorry. So apparently Facebook, in their infinite wisdom, is muting videos after they get posted because of some copyright thing. There's nothing on here that's copywritten except this t-shirt. So let's start with today's inspiration. Motivational morning before it becomes lunchtime. We'll do this every day, I think. I think it's something that, you know, Jurg's radio is positive talk in a negative world. The show tries to remain positive. Not that we don't administer some tough love on occasion or tell the truth every day, but ultimately it's an inspirational news political show. I want to see if our recipient for today's toast is on Facebook. There he is. It says former. So this is, oh man, last year he posts on Facebook. So this is a wild story from 2012. Oh, so a while ago, okay. I was on my way to an Aerosmith concert and ended up having a fender bender on the Schuylkill. The Schuylkill is a river and a county in Pennsylvania. It's also the name of a highway in the Philadelphia area that runs alongside of the Schuylkill River, which runs through Philadelphia. If you've ever seen the art museum in the movie Rocky, that river that's right aside of the art museum is the Schuylkill River. I tapped his car in front of me. We both pulled over and parked. There were three young folks on their way to the same Aerosmith concert. Fortunately, their car did not have much damage, but mine had a ton. But they recognized me and wanted to take pictures. So very surreal and so bizarre. There we were on the rather narrow side of the road of a busy Saturday afternoon, taking pictures in front of my car with the grill banging to the side and smoke coming out of the radiator. People were driving by yelling, "Pierre!" Very embarrassing. I apologized several times and took responsibility. Then we exchanged numbers and did all the proper things, and they continued on. My car limped to the next exit. I waited for the tow truck and got a cab to the concert. These three nice people came over to our MMR broadcast booth after the show, and we told the whole story on the air. It couldn't have been nicer, but what a way to meet listeners. What's he driving there? Is that an Audi? Pierre Robert driving an Audi. He's passed over a Minerva. Oh, Pierre. So the Volkswagen bus that he drove from his native California to Philadelphia back in the late 70s, early 80s. I forget when he actually made that trip. I don't really know, actually. But he drove a friend to college in one of the colleges in the Philadelphia area. Is what they call the Big Five. St. Joe's, Temple, Penn. Oops, sorry, I didn't get the mute button in time. St. Joe's, Temple, Penn, Villanova. There's one other one. Can't think of it. But St. Joe's, Temple, Penn, University of Penn, Ivy League. That's where my ex went. One of my best friends went to St. Joe's. Villanova. My kid brother played hockey with the son of the football coach at Villanova back in the day. Anyway, Pierre Robert is going to be coming back up in a minute. We're going to be doing a toast. Oh, Linda Lewis is a friend of his. Yeah, I wrote Pierre back when I was transferring from Philly to San Francisco, because that's his native town. And, I just said, hey, I'm going. Hopefully This was early 2000s, right as radio stations were becoming online. And so I thought I would probably be able to continue to listen to him by, seeing it online or hearing it online. He wrote back this long email that I kept for a good while as like a reference, what to do and where to go and where not to go throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. It was really informative, really made me look like a local. And yeah, it was good. And so I thought maybe now that I'm retired from that, the guy has been this date I do know. He started at a radio station K something something in the San Francisco area with rock. And they changed their format to what they called adult, urban, country, and western. And so he changes his screen name, yeah. Air name is what jocks call it. Like the Grease Man is not his real name. The Grease Man, former radio talent, another talk comedy guy, is a guy by the name of Doug Tract. Doesn't really sound as sexy, so he created the persona, the Grease Man. Allows him to be a little goofy and still be normal at the grocery store. But when you get a name like Pierre Robert, his last name's spelled Robert, it's pronounced Robert. You don't change that. Well, he did when that station in California became country, and he just realized it was not his thing. So he needs something to do. His buddy's going to college. Says, I'll take you. Drives dude in this 1971 or 72 minivan clear across the country. In fact, I'll pull up the Wikipedia page that I was looking at last night, researching this. And we'll make sure that gets into the show notes, of course. Pierre Robert, DJ. Born August 1st. By the way, happy belated to Pierre Robert. He is 69 years old. Began his radio career, and I guess we're going to do the toast first. We'll get to motivational more. I mean, this story is motivational. Talk about perseverance and dedication and being the franchise player, as we say in sports, even though he has no idea what that would mean. We'll talk about that in a second. Started his radio career at 94.9 KSAN, KSAN FM in San Francisco. One of the country's first progressive rock stations. I bet they're kicking themselves after doing this. When KSAN changed its format to an urban, country, and western in the early 80s, Robert assumed the on-air name Will Robertson. Anybody? Will Robertson. Danger, Will Robertson. From a TV show, I think Lost in Space was the young boy on the TV show. And that there was a robot that helped them, and that was the sign when there was something bad happening. Well, that danger was the switch to country. Changed his name to Will Robertson for a brief period of time because he was opposed to the new format. Not long after, Robert drove a friend to school in Philadelphia. 1970. In his 1970 Volkswagen van named Minerva, which then had bald tires back in the 80s. So 70, it's 11 years old. He sent 93.3 WMMR a demo tape, but was initially turned down for a position with the station and took a job at, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this, but took a job at Essene, and you'll see it when you check it out on Wikipedia, ESSENE. It's a health food store and vegetarian restaurant. He later had a reading by a palm reader on South Street, as I know all too well, South Street. It's like a carnival type of touristy area. There's some clubs there that play live music. Some of them, like, actually pseudo concert venues. I forget what it was, but it was a big one down on the end. At the far end, front and south, was one of the very first episodes of Bar Rescue, a place called Downey's. It's an Irish pub and restaurant purchased by this Italian chef. I don't remember his name, but as it started sliding, I loved the place. When I went there was definitely top place. Started sliding. I think he had the loss of his brother. That was one of the caveats that caused some of his depression, and lost his passion. And anyway, that one of the places there was one of the first episodes of Bar Rescue with John Taffer. Other places there, very famous hot dog stands, cheesesteak stands, where you get the Philly cheesesteak. So he's at this palm reader on South Street who told him, "You're going to get a letter very soon." Like, okay. He just drove across the country. Maybe mom's checking in. Whatever. He returns home to find a letter from Joe Bonadonna, then WMMR's station manager, indicating there was an opening, and Robert joined WMMR in 1981, SIP time. Robert has held several positions at WMMR, including broadcasting during the morning, overnight, and midday shifts. I got to put this on. It's going to drive me nuts. Keep getting emails during the show. I usually put this on mute. Give me a second, folks. All right. Not going to be interrupting Pierre today. He currently has the slot of 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Though his program frequently runs over, an anomaly he describes as Pierre Standard Time. Features of his show include the Coffee Break Music Marathon, Coffee, Hello, Pierre's Planner, it's like the concert schedule, Workforce Blocks, during which he plays 3 or 4 songs of a particular artist based on listener requests. In the 80s, Reginald the Butler joined Pierre in kicking off his Workforce Blocks by ringing a lunchtime bell. Okay. Robert also features the Vinyl Cut. The Final Cut, Final, is the last edit before you release a song. It's also the name of a Pink Floyd album. His play on words, vinyl, V-I-N-Y-L, refers to one of the many vinyl records in the what's called the WMM archives. An archive is a library. Another play on words, the WMM archives, the last letter of their call sign, thrown in with the actual archive word, and that's a track from the past. He is also known to play all 18 minutes and 20 seconds of Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant multiple times during his annual Thanksgiving broadcast. Robert has admitted that he does not follow Philadelphia sports, which is usually in the sports-obsessed city. He typically refers to all Philadelphia sports teams as the Boys in Blue, regardless of the actual team colors. I'm sure the Eagles would love that. I mean, you're talking to fans who booed Santa Claus for wearing red while they were playing the Redskins. As a running joke, he is known to say the phrase, "sports up," mostly during his overlap towards the end of the Preston and Steve show in the morning. In January 2024, see, this is why I've got to say he's still there. In January 2024, Robert signed a multi-year contract extension with WMMR. Notable events. Robert's first Volkswagen microbus, Minerva, was impounded by the Philadelphia Parking Authority and later crushed in a junkyard. Robert often declared on the air, "God bless the Grateful Dead." At the beginning of their concert at the Spectrum on October 7th, 1994, Robert presented the Grateful Dead with a flag recognizing their 50th performance at the venue. 2001, MMR threw a party at the Spectrum for Robert's 20th anniversary and gave him a 1972 Volkswagen Type 2 Westphalia type of bus to replace his old 1970 Volkswagen minibus. The new bus was named Minerva 2 in honor of the original Minerva that he drove from California to Philadelphia. In 2002, Minerva 2 was driven by Robert in the 93.3 WMMR Oz Fund, OZZ Fund, a 4-day fundraiser to collect money for Fox Chase Cancer Center in the name of Ozzy Osbourne's wife, Sharon Osbourne. Robert drove all over the Delaware Valley collecting donations from fans and station listeners. Throughout the first 25 days of November in 2006, MMR paid tribute to Robert for his 25 years of service to the station. November 2011, Bob Beru of Beru View played a show at the World Cafe Live in honor of Robert's 30th year at WMR. September 2012, the owners of the building that houses WMMR threatened to have Minerva 2 towed. The car was fairly rough shaped with flat tires, holes in the floorboard, and a broken window. After considering all the options, Robert was approached by Collision Max about restoring Minerva. It's a commercial chain like Mako. Collision Max will be restoring Minerva. Minerva was completely restored by Collision Max with custom airbrushing done by Franny Drummond of Paint Zoo. Rich Tornetta, Collision Max Director of Marketing, recorded weekly videos documenting the repair work on the Volkswagen bus. In October 2019, Robert was inducted into the Philadelphia Music Walk of Fame, along with the Hooters, a Philadelphia band that is one of Robert's favorites. 2021, to celebrate his 40th year with MMR, the studio that houses the station was renamed Pierre Robert Studio. So definitely an inspiration to all of us on the waves, now on the interwebs, as I think he calls it. I hate that word. I hate that phrase. There was a guy when I had a lot more crypto and was following it more regularly. There was a guy named BitBoy Crypto. Like he's some superhero for cryptocurrency. Which he was not. I mean, those of us that actually knew something about it laughed at him. But there he is, approaching 1 million subscribers. And he called the internet the interwebs. So, yeah, we don't use that phrase. Anyway, Pierre, here's to you, pal. Now in the same profession of sorts as you. So here goes. I got to see what there we go. As you would say, a cup of the morning sauce in your direction. Today's toast to Pierre Robert of 93.3 WMMR, currently serving, let me do the math here. It was 2001, right? Yeah. 43 years at MMR. Congrats, man. And happy belated birthday as well. 69 years old. Good number, buddy. Good number. I gotta maybe email him or something. You can find out a little bit more about Pierre. I'll pull it up too. R.com. a good one. It's only four letters for the URL. That's always good. On air. Click the on air. And then there's a column for Preston and Steve. That's their morning show. And then there's another column for all the jocks. Preston and Steve at the top. Then Pierre Robert, he's next. In fact, he's going to be on, was it 10 to 3? Yeah, so he's on. See, this will be there about. Here's his trademark. Greetings, good citizens. Pierre Robert here. It's great to have you on board at WMMR. I've been on air in Philadelphia for over 40 years and love this vibrant city and its good citizens. Join me weekdays from 10:30. He gets to sleep in now. 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. for everything that rocks and a variety of good feeling features. Coffee Music Break Marathon when the Preston and when the Preston and my allergies, in addition to this head cold. I can't see anything. Coffee Break Music Marathon. When the Preston and Steve show wraps up, we begin our time together with a cup of coffee and an extended stretch of songs. Pierre's planner. Around 11:20, we'll run down the birthdays, anniversaries, concerts, and moments in history that occurred on that day. The workforce blocks at noon, we'll do 3 theme blocks of bands requested by you. How do you do that? Request a block of your favorite artists by sending an email to Pierre. There it is, Pierre at WMMR.com. Tell us who you are, where you work, and why the band is special to you. Or if you'd like to dedicate the block to someone else. Vinyl cuts around 2:15. We play real, live, beautifully crackling vinyl on the air. MMR's vinyl library is extensive, and there's nothing like holding the LP in your hands. This is what we might call a record. Checking out the album art and queuing up the record on the turntable. That was back when we actually had to work a little bit to play a song. There's also weekly features like Double Shot Tuesdays, the weekend calendar every Friday. You can call the studio anytime at area code 215-263-WMMR or text us at 39333. Let's keep in touch on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. With a great cup of coffee and outstanding music, nothing can stop us. Peace and love, Pierre Robert. Yeah, we'll have to write him. And I'll put this link in the show notes as well. All right, gang, we're going to take a break. We got about 30 minutes left. We got to do our motivational morning before it becomes afternoon. And, yeah, we'll be back after this. 99.1 WDJY and the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back. Smell nasty. Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yerg's. I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yerg's and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yerg's Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art. and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey gang, it's Yergs. Right now, our country is about to embark on yet another controversial presidential election. I have an actual question, legitimate question, as a political scientist and historian by education. If you are a Trump supporter, I want to hear from you. I want to know what your appeal to Donald Trump is at this time. Please email me Newz, N-E-W-Z, at yergs.com. Newz, N-E-W-Z, at YERGZ.com. Thanks. Participants must be willing to provide their contact information, answer a series of questions, and then have their first name broadcast over the radio and social media relevant to Up the Middle.
So during the breaks, let me see something there. During the breaks, I check, I see an earpiece in that's to my phone. One of the stations are supposed to be on. We're actually not on yet, so I got to look into that. Reach out to AmericaOneRadio.com. Tell them we're live every day at 11. And just like they said they would, that's where they said they'd put us, unless there's some change. Now, of course, I'm going to be reaching out too. But we're also on a 99.1 WDJY, as I've been saying. This is week number 2 now, where we're on 5 days a week, as well as the UG.media. The UG as in The Underground, even though that's not what it stands for. The Underground, the UG.media, is in London. And of course, Yergs Radio, Rainbow Radio, and all of our social media. Actually, not all of our social media, and that reminds me. I need you to go, please, to yergs.com, YERGZ.com. I think I got it. I might be able to put it up on the screen for those of you watching. Well, there's our email. Same thing. Newz, N-E-W-Z, at yergs.com. Go to yergs.com. There's a ticker scrolling across the homepage. On that ticker is a list of all of our social media. Not all of which on Facebook. This is where I need your help on Facebook. Not all of which have enough subscribers so that we can actually broadcast like you're seeing now, some of you, to that channel. Back in June, Meta, Facebook, in their infinite wisdom, changed the requirements for pages and groups. You must now have, I think the page had to be 60 days old, which all of mine are. But not all of them, because some of them were still new, like Rainbow Radio and my personal page. which is why I'm back to broadcasting on my personal platform, because I need to get this out, and I've got like 4,000 followers. But some of my pages that we advertise or that we broadcast to, Both Sides Now, Psycho and the Psychic, the newer ones that, and kind of, for lack of better terms, less popular, they don't have the minimum number of 100 subscribers. So please consider going to them, even if it's not your thing. If you don't follow Both Sides Now, if you don't follow Psycho and the Psychic, please subscribe just for a little bit until I can get other actual fans aware of that. Because some of these people, like Both Sides Now, it's a pre-recorded podcast until yesterday. Yesterday we went live during the show, during Up the Middle. Sorry about that. It just comes up. There's no warning. But we now do Both Sides Now during Up the Middle on Mondays live, and then we repurpose it as pre-recorded podcast, even though the initial is a live one. Psycho and the Psychic, Marcella's taken some time off. We both needed some time to get some other things done. But she especially is fixing some crap in her personal life and doing an amazing job of it. We talked yesterday, as you saw if you were with us. She's going to be joining us every Monday as well for Mirror Mondays. And eventually, we're going to get her into giving somebody a reading. Yesterday was just she, Jane, and I caught up. I think what we're going to do is do her earlier in the show so she has her own time. And, that's as we give her a plug, and you should do that, by the way. See if I can switch over to that profile and I can put her on. Marcella.com. MARCC. 2 C's in this Marcella. MARCCELLA.com. Amazing tarot reader. I'm really impressed. She's been spot on with me. What she said was going to happen is happening or has happened. And Jane, by the way, can be reached at studiobbb.org. So, yeah, Marcella, we're going to be plugging her. She's going to be joining us for Mirror Mondays, from like Mirror on the Wall. From, what is it, Snow White? Whoever. Mirror Mondays. We were going to go with Witchy Wednesdays, but she chose Monday. That's the day she wanted to do it. So that's her name. And then Both Sides Now is going to be doubling up with Up the Middle in the second hour, which is when Jane and I usually recorded. So repurposing, going live, and doing new things, awesome things. So for today, our motivational morning, looks like that's what we're going to be wrapping up with. We're going to search through the screensavers, and what I have here is a file of, well, actually, let's share the whole thing. What I have here is a file of, how should I say, famous professional people. When I say that, I mean, like, maybe they're not necessarily as famous as some of the others. Like, on here is Abraham Lincoln and Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. But also on here are people like Anthony Melchiori, who, unless you're into the hotel business or used to watch whatever station his show was on, you would have no idea who that is. You may also not really know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, unless you're in business and motivational speaking and follow, his lessons that he gives. You'd have no idea who that is. John Taffer, we mentioned earlier. Unless you're into the bar scene, you might not know who that is. Marcus Lemonis is another investor type. But then again, Rocky, Nelson Mandela, Mark Cuban, Maya Angelou, Michael Bublé, they're all on here. And yesterday we talked about John Cena, again, A-lister, I think. But you might not know him if you don't follow WWE, if you've not seen him in action movies. You might not know him. But very, very positive guy. I seriously love what he tweets and how he keeps his head above water from away from the crap. And I thought this was maybe a little too self-serving. So I'm just going to say it. Don't take this as me being arrogant. But I am actually one of the celebrities. Now, I do not fancy myself a celebrity. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I have had moments that my own beliefs and my own daily practices have been an inspiration. And I know as a fact that it has inspired others. So if you're watching, you see on your screen right now what appears as my desktop on any one of my 4 monitors. I don't have a screensaver actually, because to actually save even more energy, it goes right to sleep when I'm not using it. But if I were to have a screensaver, this file of all these different photos would be on there as well. And today, I am the celebrity. It's my quote that I hope inspires you. And the captions read, U.S. Olympic Training Center, Lake Placid, New York, twice. I trained at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid twice to be an ice hockey referee, at which I was scouted by the NHL. Minor league baseball umpire, graduate of the Jim Evans Academy, class of 1996. Unfortunately, back in, I think it was 2012, there was an unfortunate incident there that wound up closing the school. Not an appropriate one. You know, I'm not trying to explain it away. It was not cool. And the Jim Evans Academy sadly is no more. But in my day, that was a place to go if you wanted to learn how to be a minor league baseball umpire, for which I wound up working 2 years in the minor leagues, where again, I was scouted by Major League Baseball. Neither of those worked out, but as my recruiter said, I was hired by the major leagues of law enforcement. At the age of 28, in the year July of 2000, I became a special agent with the U.S. Secret Service. Retired November 2021, and now here I am as a syndicated radio host and podcaster. Point of all that being, my quote, and that is, people used to say that my career goals were, quote, ambitious, unquote. Now they say that about my life and about my past. We were just talking yesterday, Jane and I, during the Both Sides Now segment of the show. I never had, I have, but as a long-term source of income, I never had a real job. Look at all that. Man, I started umpiring baseball when I was 12 in my hometown, the Boyertown Midget League, Little League Baseball. And I say Little League because they're kids. It's not actually sanctioned by the Little League, like the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, because they actually don't use that rule book. They use the professional rule book with certain obvious changes, like you have to slide. You can't barrel the guy over. But I started umpiring at 12. That was volunteer, but I would eventually take the rules exams for both American Legion and high school, scholastic, governed by the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association, or the PIAA. I would be umpiring varsity baseball, varsity high school baseball, as a senior in high school. At 13, I started officiating ice hockey. That I did get paid for immediately. And my first full year, my first year, full or half full or whatever you want to call it, was in a men's league in Reading, Pennsylvania, Timberline Ice Arena. Okay, so it was anything but an arena. It was a steel building that, why it had a roof, I have no idea, because it was just as cold inside, especially in January, as it was outside. You go into, various areas to warm up, and that wouldn't happen. But Timberline Ice Arena, where I officiated men's hockey, that I learned was actually not sanctioned by USA Hockey, which means the accreditation that I earned that first year was useless because they could use whatever rules they wanted to include one of the leagues being a checking league. Now, usually in amateur hockey, especially in like the men's leagues, you're not allowed to body check because you got to go to work tomorrow. So sometimes there's colliding, sometimes they rub off each other, but you can't like set somebody up and give them a good old-fashioned NHL style body check, hip check, whatever. Well, one of these leagues fancied themselves so good, and they did have some decent teams in it, that they authorized body checking. So that was my NHL. When I started working that's when I thought that I had made it. Well, none of these teams were sanctioned by USA Hockey, which means none of the players or referees or the rink or people in the stands were insured by the group coverage that USA Hockey provided just by simply paying the registration fee at the beginning of the year. So there was that. I would eventually, as you saw, go on to train at Lake Placid, other professional schools, and had my fun. So, I was going where I was going with that. I would be in the lunch line in junior high school with $500 in cash in my wallet to go get lunch. And I clearly did not need that much at school, but it looked cool, especially when a friend was short. I could buy him lunch and not have to worry about it. But I never had a real job. When I did that, that's, my aspirations were to referee in the NHL. That's why when my aunt actually had a reading done. Tarot cards, palm, crystal ball, I don't know. And how they knew it was me, because I wasn't there. I was a kid. I was like 8. She comes right home to my mom and dad's place. We lived on Knoll Circle in Coopbrookdale Township at the time. She's standing in her kitchen, proudly telling mom and dad how she just came from a psychic. And Rusty, as my family knows me, is going to work for the federal government and die a violent death. Now, keep in mind, at that time, I had no aspirations. I didn't know what the Secret Service was. The only thing I knew about federal government were spies. And I thought it would be cool to be a spy. Which, as we all now know, I kind of sort of eventually became. But my aunt said, and how, I don't know if they said, you got a brother, his oldest child. Somehow, we're able to determine it was me. Rusty is going to work for the federal government and die a violent death. Okay. We labeled her bat poo poo crazy, as she'd always been. She was the eccentric of the three Yerger siblings. My Aunt Kathy, Sarah, this one, and my dad. Fast forward to 1997. I finished my second year in minor league baseball. I'm already out of hockey. I've already given that up. And I'm realizing the major leagues are not in the cards. So my dad helps me get a job at a grocery store where I worked nights, like 10 to 6 nights, stocking shelves. Whew, that was fun. And I realized that the only other job that I'd ever had that was clearly not a career. And that could have been a career, but was clearly not going to be a career. So I'm not talking about having been a bartender while I was home from baseball. I'm not talking about having been a lifeguard at a pool. I'm not going to make a career living doing those things in a small town like Boyertown without working godly hours and probably having another job, as most of the bartenders I've known have. So I'm stocking shelves at this grocery store, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is not going to be my life. I went home, pulled out the phone book, and found limousine companies. Because driving an executive to the airport, to meetings, etc., would be the first step of becoming a bodyguard, which I eventually became. I forget what it's called for Pennsylvania anymore. But I eventually became certified for armed security in Pennsylvania. And did bodyguard work. Wasn't long before I would be picked up by the North Coventry Township Police Department. Shout out and rest in peace to my uncle of sorts, Mike Benyo, who was the chief there at the time, friend of a buddy of mine from high school, Jason Benyo. Neither of them are with us anymore. Who helped me get an internship with their department, even though I was out of college. Got me an internship so I could learn police work and make myself more marketable to the Secret Service, which by now has become on the radar. Get through the hiring process, and I don't get hired. I put on the announcement board a note, a memo to the department thanking them for their assistance, for their motivation, for their mentorship. Secret Service did not work out. That's okay. I'm going to go on and do other things. We'll figure it out. Chief read that one day and said, well, if they don't want you, we'll take you. He goes into his office, locks his door, and essentially uses the Clinton crime bill, which, in addition to the temporary ban on assault weapons, also created funding for small towns like North Coventry Township to pay for police officers to get through the academy, to pay them a decent wage so they could still be part-time, work at other departments, still provide decent police coverage, and not break the bank. And that's how I became a police officer and eventually a Secret Service agent. And I never had, it wasn't until I retired, moved here to Tampa, that I got a job at a local restaurant washing dishes. That was the only other normal job that everybody else has that I've ever had. 11:59, 4:59 in London, 11:59 here on the East Coast. We're wrapping up. That's it, gang. We're going to lose Atlanta any second now. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. You've been Up the Middle.